I've never seen this up here before. Who put these here? That's a prop. It's great to be here today. I can't think of a better place to celebrate my birthday. I turned 46. And, also all those who are watching on the internet land, I think baby Dominic Walther is watching his first Mass, which is proper for the Walthers. It's awesome to think of another little grandson being born, and I'm sure he'll be taking after his Uncle Joey at some point to hold up whoever's going to be priest at that point. But at any rate, it's just, well, as you can see, it's overwhelming to see all the faces, and, I'm walking in here and greeted by my sister-in-law, Maria, and obviously Maria has one little baby here. She's got babies all around her, and then she's got the big boys in there who got her back and all that, and so my nieces and nephews are present, and obviously my dear parents and Judd and Gretchen. It's overwhelming to see all of that, and I know my sister Colleen, I don't know if she's here or not, but I think she's getting close to, so who knows, maybe I'll have another nephew or a niece during this actual Mass. It's just the way things go. I got news the other day that one of my cousins is going to have triplets. So can you imagine, what a small family I come from? That's totally cheating to get triplets going. That's just like another level. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's going to be great. We But, this last week, I went to, I know this is going to sound strange. It's like, what were you doing there? I went to Jamaica, and it wasn't to smoke any Marley muffins or anything of that nature, or to enjoy the great beaches of Jamaica or anything of that. It was my crazy cousin. I have this cousin, his name's Father Chris Donley, and he's pastor over at St. Raphael's in Morningside. Anyway, we go into this preschool, as I've gone into the preschool here so many times. And teachers hate when I walk into a preschool because I just have so much fun with the kids, and then they can never get them settled down. And I've never caused so much ruckus in a preschool. When we walked into this preschool, because they all knew Father Chris, and they just jumped all over us. And somebody had a water bottle, and it spilled all over the ground, and shoes were flying everywhere. And this little girl, little Sierra, she was like getting pushed around and all that. And so I saw that her shoes flew up in there, so I grabbed her with all this mayhem and put her up on a desk. And I was trying to find the shoes, like swimming in all this stuff. Finally, I got her shoes on, put them on there, and she just looked right at me and just gave me this big hug. And then you start to realize what Jesus is saying today. You start to realize just the simplicity and the sincerity of what it's like to look into a little child's eyes and just let them smile at you. This is the metaphor that Jesus Christ is trying to use for his disciples today. Last week it was a more hard-hitting metaphor. It was capital punishment, in other words, getting crucified. Today he talks about just the simple, humble look of a child. And, I try not to look too much into the crowd right now because almost every one of you will cause me to cry. But the one little girl is there is Colette. She has a little face, and she's just staring right at me. She's with my parents now because her dear mom. So it's just like you see these little faces, and these are all little faces in which if you just listen to this gospel passage, you start to realize what a sublime little face a child is. When Jesus says, then he sat the 12 down and he brought a child to them. And he said, if anyone wishes to be first, they should be last of all. Taking a child, he placed it in their midst, and putting his arms around the child, he said to them, whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me. Now I have to confess, I think this won't be a surprise to anybody. I'm definitely the biggest kid in the room. And you all have received me. And through that, I've been able to find Christ in a deeper way in my priesthood. And I guess that's what goes to my heart the most as I've been here for 6 years, is that I don't think I've matured. I'm 46, so I'm older, but I don't know if I've actually matured much during these years. It's more of just bumping along, doing what we can here at a beautiful parish. And, being in Jamaica with these children helped me see something that is such a part of what I hope anybody who thinks of me would ever be a part of. It's not about Father Jay said this or Father Jay did this. To me, that would be torture to my ears if that's what I left people with, which was Father Jay. It's really about seeing how Christ is so present and those who are suffering and those who are vulnerable and those whose marriage or those whose lives or those whose hearts need Jesus, and allowing the Lord to be there for them. It really is just about one simple thing: Eucharistic action. Allowing the Eucharist to actually take action in our lives. When we think about it, Jesus left us, but he didn't leave us physically. He left us the Eucharist. And the more we center our lives on Jesus Christ, the more we can radiate the love of Christ. One of the first things I ever did in this church, I'm glad Father Tom Kunz is not here, is that tabernacle was over on the other side there. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but I walked in and I was praying here when I got here. I actually got here on my birthday 6 years ago. And I was totally disoriented because I'm like, what is Jesus doing in jail over there? And so, well, if you see it from my angle, you understand the analogy. It's hard to see that. Right behind Nina, it looks like literally like he's behind bars. Yeah, you see that? Exactly. So then it was just like, it was so obvious that what our community was truly thirsting for as I got here was just center our lives on Christ. And so, Joe Woznicki and the crew here, they're probably happy that I'm moving on because I have a lot of projects for them and they can't always keep up with them. But at any rate, they helped me build this little thing and then put the tabernacle in the middle. And I did that. I was so excited. And then one of the priests, who's not Father Tom, but somebody who's very astute with canon law, said, of course, you got the canonical approval to move the tabernacle. I was like, I didn't even know that you... So there's not official canonical approval. But there is that sense that what's best for the people, which is the last word of canon law, ought to be the thing that truly lives through things. And really it was interesting that my whole life kind of came full circle as I went with these different children in Jamaica. Like this one little girl, and this is called Mustard Seed. The Mustard Seed is this place where communion with Christ in the Eucharist is what's truly accompanying the children who have been most abandoned in Jamaica. You know, in Jamaica, if you're born with HIV or you have any type of physical, mental handicap, basically children are abandoned just to die. And so what happened was this Mustard Seed crew of priests and now beautiful lay people, they go around and collect the children and allow the children a dignified life. And so one little girl, her name was Tiara. She's one of the few kids that can actually talk. And boy, does she talk. She's sassy. And she was bossing me around. She shouldn't have digital real control of her hands, but what she can do is tell you like where things are. And so she wanted this lip balm for her, being a nice little girl, she wanted to look pretty. And so I got her the lip balm. Then she said, okay, get me this book. And she starts talking and she couldn't shut up and, reminded me of my sister. It's just this kind of this real example. And so, and then all of a sudden it was like the bell rang and her whole face turned and we all went into the chapel. And every day, these kids do Eucharistic adoration. And watching them in front of the Blessed Sacrament is like the place where they know they'll never get abandoned again. It's the place where they know where Jesus is just like them, handicapped, unable to speak or even move. But his divine presence is more powerful than anyone else. And the children get it. It's so incredible to hear. And then over and over again, as I was coming back from Jamaica, I just could hear this phrase, taking a child. Jesus placed the child in his midst and putting his arms around the child. He said, whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me. And over again, that phrase, as you look at these little talkative Tara, as she's getting prepared now for her first communion. And then there's this little Andre who I got to feed every morning. He was just an adorable little boy. He was probably, he told me he was 9 years old and he was going to be turning 10 soon. I told him I was turning 46 today. He could just barely talk. He could say some words, but he more was just able to get out some sounds. But as I was feeding him, and he can't really eat solid food, so it'd be basically like oatmeal. And one day they actually had scrambled eggs with like bread that was kind of soggy so that you could just get it in so he could swallow it. I was feeding him. Sometimes he'd joke around. He'd just bite down on the spoon. He wouldn't let me pull it out. So then I said, okay, I'm going to start feeding you in your ear, and I'm going to get the airplane going into your eyes. And then he started to laugh. We had the best time. And the only thing he could do is really could clap because his arms, they can't really bend. So he could do that. And all of a sudden, when he wheeled into the chapel, he got a little frustrated. And I'm going, why is he frustrated? He goes, well, he likes to be in the front. So they moved him to the front. And he was like the worship leader because he could do this during the music. And so I thought I'd go up and sing, do something. If you know me, I can't sing and dance or even chew gum and walk at the same time. And so I tried to lead, the song that I sing with our preschool kids here, the Amen song. And Miss Dixon, who's in charge, she must have been like Bob Marley's sister or something. She's got rhythm. She's like, Father, you move over. I'll show you how this is done. And she starts dancing with the kids and starts getting all the rhythm going. And there was little Andre just going boom, boom. And he was like showing me how to clap and just worship and adore Jesus. And boy, that adorable experience like that is truly touching to see that, And so it's the Eucharist in action. One of the things that, everybody who knows me know that I come from a small family. And I felt like last year as one of our staff members had asked me, she runs the preschool, Mrs. Torcazi Maureen, she's like, well, couldn't we have a little place where the children could go and pray? Because it's hard to walk up all the steps and come up here. And so I thought, well, maybe the best way I could thank our parish was by placing the Holy Family Chapel there with the Eucharist so that the little kids could come up and do adoration. One of the best ways I could ever have been thanked for my time here was hearing about these little kids grabbing their little parents' hands or just grab their hands and say, let's go up and see Jesus. One of the parents came to me afterwards, was in tears, said they hadn't been in church in 10 years. And it's truly the face of these little children just looking at Jesus in the Eucharist, where you can see the Eucharist in action, where you can see God doing his greatest work. There's a little story that's at the beginning of the Magnificat this month, but I just think it's perfect. First grade teacher, get everybody in line. Okay, we're going to start drawing. And so everybody starts drawing something. And this little first grade girl's drawing, and the teacher says, oh, what are you drawing? And she goes, the face of God. And and the teacher's like, nobody can draw the face of God. And she didn't even look up. And she goes, just wait a minute. Children have an incredible ability to be the pencils, to be the paintbrushes for the great master Jesus who can paint the greatest masterpieces. And there is no doubt in my mind that one of the greatest work the Lord is doing is by allowing these children, your children, these children, the children in my family, the children who are most vulnerable, even those who are abandoned. And through their lives, God writes his greatest masterpieces of love. And isn't it true that one of the great gifts that St. Simon and Jude gives to our community is Christmas time, where this whole entire sanctuary gets overrun by little mice going into there. My cat loves this place, and then you have the camels, and you got Jesus, and you got the angels, and you got Joseph, and you got Mary. And you have all this, the whole entire thing. It was one of those things that one of the Father Carey had done here, where just the whole entire sanctuary turns into Christmas. It's probably one of the most special things about our Christian faith, because it's really not about us going to God. It's about a baby born into our hearts and finding a place of warmth, a tenderness, and a love. I got to spend some time with Maria Walther today just looking at the tender little baby that is her new grandson. And you see this 4-pound little tiny baby. And see how precious and tender. And you start to realize that perhaps the baby is the most defenseless, the most vulnerable, and truly the most needy. And on cue, it's perfect. The choir, the children's choir, the crying, and yeah, thanks, belt it out. We need more of that. More crying is great. Yeah, just let the lungs out. That's it. That's the rhythm at which God can sometimes speak his greatest homilies and his greatest speeches. Because can you think of anything more tender than just a little baby crying in his parents' arms? That's how God took his first step on earth towards us. And I hope that whether it be the Eucharistic adoration in the chapel of the Holy Family, up here, or wherever you all are, that you're able to discover in Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, just as Mary and Joseph did, and all those who came to that beautiful nativity scene, that Jesus is here. And sometimes it's good to know He's just for me.